we're going to bring up your next speaker. That's going to be the wonderful, magnificent Chris James.
If you talk about how much you hate your fat, your body has been working all this time to keep you alive.
I don't think anybody in my circle understands impossible.
Hi, I'm Chris James, and today we're going to be talking about how to avoid the fasting springback. All right, so I've done a video talking about the fasting springback, but I'm going to give you guys a quick refresher so that we are all on the same page and we can get to the next portion of this, which is how to avoid it. So the fasting springback is actually when you do a fast. Let's say that you're going to do 21-day fast, you lose 28 pounds, right? Those are very common numbers. You're going to be very excited. Maybe your goal is only lose 30 pounds. I don't know. So you feel like, man, I've reached my goal. You know, we're say 2 pounds away. You basically made it there. You're very excited. You're like, you know, in the next couple weeks, I'll reach my goal completely. This is crazy. And then you start your refeed. And as soon as you start eating, you gain back 2 pounds. And within a week, you gain back 5 pounds, which brings your total weight loss down to 23 pounds instead of the 28 pounds that you had. Now, this does a couple different things. It kills people's momentum because they feel like they're trucking along, they're making forward progress, they're losing weight, they only got 2 more pounds left to go, and now all of a sudden they gain 5 pounds. So now they're almost 10 pounds away from their goal instead of being 2 pounds away, right? And that's what we do. We take this and we enlarge, we blow it up because it's an emotional thing. The other thing it does is it basically discourages us. It makes us feel like the work we put in was not worth it. Now, you guys are listening to this story. You may not be emotionally attached to it. You may not have experienced this, but when you're in it, you're very emotionally attached. And you fasted for 21 days and you know how difficult that is. And so you start to feel like, why did I even do all of this? You completely forget that you are still down 23 pounds. You completely forget that part. You forget that in 1 month, you've lost over 20 pounds, which is off the charts. You don't think about how with traditional weight loss, 1 pound a week is normal, right? And so we start to become unmotivated. We start to feel like a failure, and we start to feel like something is wrong. You start to question, what did I do? What did I do wrong? Why am I gaining weight back? You know, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. So that's the fasting springback. That's all of the energy that comes along with it in a nutshell. And that's what I want to address today. All right, so first of all, let me reassure you all, the fasting springback is normal. This is the reason why I gave it a whole term and everything. It's the reason why I defined it. It's the reason why I could talk about it. I have seen this literally thousands of times. Okay? And I'm not immune to it. None of the coaches are immune to it. It's happened to literally all of us. And it happens for a variety of different reasons. I'm going to link the video to my original fasting springback video because I go more into detail about why it happens. And today we're talking more about how to avoid it. But that variety of reasons can be, you know, when you start fasting, especially depending on the type of fast you do, your digestive system starts to go to rest. If you do dry fasting, it basically virtually goes to rest. And so there are digestive fluids that the body is no longer manufacturing, and there is a weight. Fluids have a weight. A gallon of water weighs something. So when you start to eat, those digestive fluids start to be manufactured, and there's a weight to that. It's not automatically fat, okay? A lot of people think, oh, I'm gaining back all this fat. No, not necessarily. But this comes from us not truly understanding how the body works. So you have that element. You also have the actual physical food in your body. 21 days of fasting may or may not resolve your digestive issues. You may still have slow moving bowels, right? Which means you eat something and it sits in you for a day. And if that's the case, How much did that food weigh? It's going to weigh something, so that's going to add to your weight. You also have inflammation, which is probably the biggest reason why people see the fasting spring back. If you come off of your fast and your body hyper responds to what you eat, whether you think it's good or not, you may see a large amount of inflammation come on, and that may be why you're seeing the weight. All right. So once again, watch the full video. I'm going to link that so you guys can understand, more completely why that happens. But what are some of the solutions? How can we avoid it? Can we avoid it? The reality is this. I typically want you guys to understand that you're probably going to have fasting spring back at some point in your journey. Where we see it, where it impacts us the most is either when you just hit your first fasting goal, like your first weight loss goal. People have different levels to their weight loss goals. Most people think, okay, I need to lose 60 pounds, 80 pounds. But I find that most people are undershooting their weight loss by 40 or 60 pounds. It's very, very common. What happens is you lose your first 60 pounds. You're like, I think I want to lose some more, right? So that's where the fasting spring back is probably going to hit you guys the hardest. It's when you've hit your first weight loss goal. Maybe it was 60 pounds, and now you've gained back 5 or 10 pounds. That hurts, right? Who knows how long it took you to get there? So, number one, expect it. Okay, that's the first way that we're gonna avoid it. We're gonna avoid it by expecting it. If you expect it, it's nothing new. You expect it. Duh. What I usually tell people to do as a way to rectify this with your numbers, if you plan to lose 60 pounds, plan to lose 70 instead. That way, when you gain back 5 or 10 pounds, you're still at that range. It doesn't impact you mentally. So automatically, whatever y'all's current goal is, plan to lose 5 to 10 pounds more than what that goal is, and that will help nerf the spring back almost instantly just off of that. But that's more of a mental game. What's a physical way that we can kind of nerf the fasting spring back? Well, how you break your fast matters a lot. So if you guys are going to go back to, avoid going back to normal eating. We'll just say that. Whatever your normal eating is, avoid that. Because we know that whatever that eating habit was, that's what caused you to gain the weight in the first place. You weren't eating healthy in the first place, and that's why you gained the weight. Or you weren't eating healthy for a long time, and it caused disruptions in the body, blockages in the body, and then you tried to change your diet, but you didn't detox. And, so you got to make adjustments to what you eat to give you the outcome that you want. The absolute best way to avoid fasting spring back when you start to refeed is to eat raw. All right. This is the absolute best way. I'm telling you guys, I'm giving you the sauce. It's the secret sauce. What does eating raw look like? It literally means that you prepare meals and you leave the digestive enzymes intact. That's what it really boils down to. Why do you have issues with your digestive system? Well, there's the gut bacteria, there's all that stuff internally, but then also the food. We kill the food. We kill the natural energy in the food. We kill the digestive enzymes. We kill the things that nature has provided to help us digest the food by cooking it. Okay? So when you have a malnourished body that's low functioning, you have blockages and you have inflammation and stuff. The last thing you want to do is also damage the food and make it even harder for your body to digest. So raw food's going to be the easiest. Now, what that probably looks like is fruit, if I'm being honest. Because if you eat raw vegetables, the body's probably going to have a little bit more difficulty breaking that down. So you may not get an optimal experience. I'm not saying that you can't do the raw vegetables. I'm just saying look out for that, okay? If you're going to do the vegetables, I would recommend steaming the vegetables and just doing raw fruit. Now, let's make sure we're on the same page. What is raw fruit? Fruit is defined as the ovaries of a plant, okay? So you have a plant or a tree, you have the stems, the roots, the leaves, and then you have the fruit. It could be a peach, a pear, a plum. It could also be an eggplant or a bell pepper or an avocado. It could be a tomato or a zucchini or a pumpkin. So we need to understand the difference between a fruit and a vegetable as it relates to plants, because otherwise you're probably going to get yourself confused. Okay? Usually the fruit is going to have seeds unless it's been genetically modified. So if you're eating something and has seeds inside of it, it's a fruit. And that's what I mean by fruits. So if you understand my definition of fruit, you've got thousands of options. You're not limited to what you can eat. You can also do the mushrooms. Okay? Mushrooms are a different category, but they would also be something that you could eat raw. And I like to marinate my mushrooms. So, I'll get whatever, oyster mushrooms or portobello or even baby bella. I'll marinate them and I'll add them to my dish, and they just add a great savory umami flavor, and it just makes everything so much easier to enjoy. You can do nuts, okay? Obviously, if you get the nuts roasted, they wouldn't be considered raw. You can sprout different things like quinoa and garbanzo beans or different things, options like that. Those would all still be considered raw. So just to kind of give you a more broad picture of what raw eating looks like and how to do it, fermenting your food also would count as raw as well. Anytime nature cooks your food, it's pretty much okay. So nature is going to do things in a way that our convection oven doesn't, that our microwave certainly doesn't. You can also warm your food. There's techniques for warming your food so that you can still have a warm, savory dish without killing the digestive enzymes. And that's ultimately the problem here. We want to leave those intact so we have good digestion, because what causes the fasting, one of the biggest impacting factors is poor digestion. When you're dealing with fasting springback, it's poor digestion. All right. So we've beat that horse enough. Okay, you guys want to learn more about raw food? I've got videos talking about raw food. There's channels talking about raw food. Another option for controlling your fasting springback is through mono-fasting. Mono-fasting just simply means you're going to eat one whole food item per meal or per day. You can eat varying quantities of it, right? So you gotta have half a pound of watermelon or a pound of watermelon. Both would be considered a monofast if all you consumed for that entire day was watermelon. All right. Now, monofasting is a perfect way to break a fast, especially if you did like a 21 day. It's a perfect way to come off of it. Why? Because you're going to be able to eat a high water content food that's going to give you hydration and is going to gently massage your digestive system to wake it up. That's excellent, especially coming up of a long fast. The other thing, people have issues with monofasting because they feel like they can't get sated, right? A lot of people, if you're used to eating McDonald's, Burger King, and Pizza Hut as your regular food, and then you go to eating only watermelon every day, you're gonna feel like I can't eat enough. So when you come up with a long fast like that, you engage in a monofast and you feel full, you feel sated, you feel satiated, because your body has had an opportunity to detox. Your stomach has an opportunity to release a lot of inflammation, become resensitized. And so the stomach and the brain, the gut and the brain are speaking better again. And so when you put food and nutrition in it, it can actually register and it makes it so much easier. So if you guys have been wanting to do monofasting and you're having trouble getting started, do a long fast. It don't got to be 21 days. I mean, you could do 10 days or even 14 days and get a very similar result. You may need to do, if you're going to do like, let's say 5 to 7 days, you may need to do it a couple of times to get your body really acclimated. But usually after fasting for a duration of about 2 weeks or so, you'll be able to eat just a whole water, like a high water content fruit and be, sated. Okay. You can also, when it comes to monofasting, I'll say this. I typically recommend whole food plant-based monofast, but it's a whole food item that you're having, so it can possibly include animal products. If you wanted your whole food item to be eggs, you could have eggs, Now, I recommend raw. That's going to be optimal. Probably don't want to eat raw eggs. I don't know. But once again, if you just did raw eggs, or if you did, scrambled eggs or whatever with maybe a little seasoning and nothing else, then you could probably get away with it. Okay. If you did a high quality steak, something that you sourced well, you got it from a local organic farmer, you could probably get away with it. All right. So I just want to put that out there because, I don't want to leave anybody. I don't want to exclude anybody. I know a lot of y'all are very into carnivore and keto and things of that nature. So you can still use these techniques for that. But here's the beauty of monofasting. Because you're only eating one whole food item per meal or per day, you'll see how well your body digests. So the other side of it is pay attention to how your body digests these foods. And then what it'll do is it'll make you more cognizant of how your body responds to beans, or how your body responds to kale, or how your body responds to lamb, or whatever it might be. And then you'll find, if I eat this food, it makes me gassy, or it makes me bloated, or it inflames me. And then what you do with monofasting is you just take it off your list. You don't eat that food anymore. You got nothing else to blame it on. You're only eating one thing. You see the power of that? So this is a great technique for avoiding inflammation, constipation, all of the stuff that people get coming off of a long fast when they don't refeed properly. Now, what is excluded? Your processed foods, your refined sugars, your dairy products. You know what I mean? I guess raw milk would be fine, but most people aren't drinking raw milk. So, I guess if you have a raw milk or, potentially like a raw yogurt or raw cheese, I don't know. That's not my wheelhouse. I don't know. It's not something I usually promote or talk about, but you can probably get away with that. But other than that, you're not going to go and get, a string cheese from the store or whatever. That stuff's going to have preservatives. It's going to have things in it that you can't have if you're monofasting. You could also make it super simple and just do sea moss gel. You could do sea moss gel. That's how simplistic you could make this. So you guys figure it out. So monofasting is a great tool for avoiding the fasting spring back. Raw food eating is a great tool. The other thing you could do is you could do just like a 1 meal a day strategy. But same thing with the 1 meal a day strategy. You still got to be very careful about what you consume. But you can do a 1 meal a day strategy and typically avoid massive spring back. Now, you're probably still going to see a little bit. But here's what you could do with the 1 meal a day strategy to help boost your outcomes. Get yourself a castor pack and make sure that you're wearing your castor pack each day, right? I would recommend wear it while you're doing your fast. As long as you're not dry fasting, wear your castor pack. But if you're doing your refeed, wear your castor pack. Or find yourself a natural laxative. What I used to do was I would have Turkish apricots on deck. If I felt like my digestion was slowing, I ate something I wasn't supposed to eat, or I ate something unknowingly, I didn't know it was going to mess me up, I'd eat a couple of Turkish apricots and that would flush me out. Okay? Back in the day, people used prunes. You may know of a food. I would recommend that it is a whole food, not like a laxative or something like that. And then you could use it without having to worry about it because it's a food, flax seeds or something like that. That's going to flush your system out when you know that you're not having good digestion, you're not having good bowel movements. Also, I mentioned this in the other video. If you eat your one meal, right? Let's say you eat your one meal. Now you're going into the next day. It's day 2 of your refeed, and you haven't had a bowel movement, but it's time to eat. You just don't eat because you haven't had your bowel movement. So for me, as a rule of thumb, if I haven't had my bowel movement for the day or whatever, like if I know I ate a meal and that meal hasn't come out of me, I won't eat again until that meal comes out. So that's another thing you guys can add to your tool belt to help you navigate refeed and avoiding this because you don't have to have massive fasting spring back. A little bit is normal. 2 pounds, that's very, very normal. Okay? 10 pounds is pushing it. And it really just depends on how much you weigh, how quickly you lost it, what you eat, how sensitive your body is. There's a lot of factors. But, 2 to 5 pounds is a normal grace period. 10 pounds is really, really pushing it. Okay? If you're seeing 10 pounds come back on, there's definitely room for improvement there. And there's probably still more work to be done. The reality is a 21-day fast didn't solve all your problems. And as I mentioned earlier, you probably thought you were hitting your weight loss goal, losing the 28, 30 pounds, but you probably got another 30 to lose, right? We don't have a good self-conception. We don't really, because we live in such a toxic environment and everybody around us is so toxic, we don't really know what healthy looks like. So we kind of got to learn it along the way. So anyway, just a few tips to help you guys avoid the fasting springback. One thing that I would avoid doing, and I know you guys like to use this as a tool, but I would avoid doing this because you don't want to build a mindset or a habit of this. Do not use fasting as your singular tool to avoid the fasting springback. Meaning this: you fast for 21 days, you lose 28 pounds, you gain 5 pounds back, and then you say, well, F it, I'm just going to fast again. I'll fast for 5 more days or 7 more days. Yes, you could do that. And there's not anything necessarily wrong with it. You're not going to hurt yourself, but it doesn't build the mentality. It doesn't build the lifestyle that you need to be successful, because eventually you got to stop fasting. So if you try to lean on fasting exclusively without looking at dietary strategy, without looking at how your digestion flows and, improving that in different ways, whether it's taking a probiotic or prebiotic or just eating certain foods that are going to nourish certain bacteria in your gut so you have proper digestion. Like if you don't learn other therapies and tools and techniques and you just lean strictly on fasting, then you're going to kind of yo-yo. And I don't want to see you guys yo-yoing, okay? So if you're going to use fasting as a tool, fine, but keep in mind you got to also learn these other skills, okay? Call them fasting skills, life skills, whatever. All right. If you guys got more questions about the fasting springback, put them in the comment section. I'll do my best to answer them, or I might do a follow-up video if I need to. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button for me, y'all. And as always, the application of knowledge is power, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.
La la